When I was 10 years old, I asked a question in school, when are we going to learn about money? He says, we don't study money at school. So why am I in school? So you can get a job and work for what? Money. So why don't we just study money? So I was 10 years old, I smelled a rat. If we're going to get a job to work for money, shouldn't we study money? And guess what? We still don't study money at school. So that's why I formed the Rich Dad Company. So for those who want to understand money, good place to go to. Hi, I want to talk to you young people out there, male and female. This is my second book here, the Cashflow Quadrant. It's E, S, B, or I. You can see that there. So one of the mistakes I hear young people say, because a lot of my classmates said it, oh, I don't have to worry about money. I'm still young. And that's the mistake they make. They don't get started.
Right now, gold is pushing to all-time highs. Silver is breaking out after a decade of suppression. And the US dollar, the backbone of global finance, is showing cracks that no one thought possible just a few years ago. The stock market may look strong on the surface, but underneath, debt, inflation, and geopolitical tensions are ripping it apart. Robert Kiyosaki has been warning about this for decades. The author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad spent 70 years studying money, and his message has never been more urgent. If you're stuck chasing job security or hoping your 401k will save you, you're playing the wrong game. In a world where currencies collapse and commodities soar, the real winners are those who understand money as a system, not just paper in your wallet. Today, we're going to connect Kiyosaki's core lessons with the financial chaos unfolding right now, and show why gold, silver, and the collapse of the dollar are not separate events, but all part of the same story.
The reason I say that E, S, B, or I, E stands for employee, S stands for specialist, or smart person. See, my dad was an employee, he was a school teacher. And my dad, as a school teacher, always said to me, go to school and get a safe, secure job. But I said, I want to get rich. So my mother was a nurse. So she says, go to med school, become a doctor. I said, Mom, doctors are smart. She says, you're right. I'm not going to make it as a doctor or a scientist or an engineer or something like that. And B stands for big business, like Elon Musk is B. Steve Jobs was a B, Trump is a B. And I stands for insider investor. In other words, we invest from the inside. E's and S's invest from the outside. They buy stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, and those things. I don't like them. So I wanted to produce my own stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and ETFs. So that meant my education. The reason I say the mistake young people make is, oh, I don't have to worry, I'm still young. Well, it takes a lot of time to study to be an I, inside investor. And it takes a lot of time to become an Elon Musk. I mean, it's dedication, put a lot of things at risk here. So that's why for many people, they say this book, The Cashflow Quadrant, changes their lives. But you've got to start. So when I was in the Marine Corps, left the Marine Corps in '74, my poor dad, being an employee, said to me, Robert, why don't you get a job with the airlines, be a pilot? Dad, I just got through flying in Vietnam for 2 years. I would make a good pilot. It'd be too dangerous for everybody else flying with me. My mother said, why don't you go to med school? I said, Mom, you gotta be smart. So I went to see my rich dad, because rich dad was in the B and the I side. The B and the I side are capitalists. You have to be a capitalist at heart. Over here, you can be what you like, but B's and I's are capitalists. So I wanted to be an I, an inside investor. So that's why my rich dad said to me, you've got to understand debt. So that's why when I was still in the Marine Corps, I would take courses on real estate. First how to find a deal, because these guys here, they just buy what their financial planners tell them. They're outside investors. On the inside, I learned one thing right away. To find a good investment, you have to look at 100 minimum. So I have to look for 100, and process the data in my head. What made it a good investment, and how much debt could I apply to it and still make money, not lose money. So that's why I took real estate courses. To become a B, a big business owner, my rich dad said there's 2 skills essential for a business owner. Number 1, you've got to learn how to sell. Number 2, raise capital. See, these guys here don't. They don't know how to sell. A lot of them, they don't know how to raise capital. While I'm taking real estate courses, as I left the Marine Corps, I got a job at Xerox to learn how to sell, because Xerox had the best sales training in those days. So I interviewed with IBM and Xerox. And the IBM guy, I didn't like at all. He was a hiring guy. He couldn't look me in the eye. And the Xerox guys, I met them at a job fair, and they were sitting there. IBM guys have dark blue suits, white shirts, and red ties. The Xerox guys had these flashy suits and all this. They were sitting at a job fair at University of Hawaii. I was a Marine walking in there. College kids are going by, and I'm walking by the desk, and the IBM guy couldn't look me in the eye. I thought that was strange. But the Xerox guys, they're in these flashy suits, and they got a cooler of beer behind them. They're drinking. They're going, hey, baby! They're yelling at the chicks walking by, the girls. I said, I like those guys. So that's how I went over to the Xerox guys to hire. I also interviewed with New York Life and insurance companies for the sales training, but Xerox and IBM had the best sales training. So that was my choices. So they sent me to school and all this. So I'm sitting down with the Xerox guys and we're drinking beer and all this. And this guy named Gene McGarity, he says, what do you do in your spare time? I said, I play rugby. And he was a rugby player. Even though I didn't have my MBA, they overlooked it. Said, do you have a master's? I said, you have an MBA? I said, no. You play rugby? I said, yeah. He said, okay, we'll hire you. You know what I mean? So you have to learn how to sell yourself. And then from there, I had to learn how to raise capital. Because if you don't know how to raise capital, you can't be in this business. And raising capital is very similar to being an I, because I'm raising capital from I's, investors. So that's what Kenny McElroy and I know how to do. We can sell and we can raise capital. So again, I'll say it, and the biggest mistake I see young people make is, oh, I don't have to worry, I'm still young.
Kiyosaki often says the greatest mistake young people make is believing they have time. They assume they can figure out money later, when in reality, building true wealth requires years of training and a shift in mindset. And right now, time is exactly what the US dollar doesn't have. Think about it. The Cashflow Quadrant divides the world into 4 categories. E for employee, the worker chasing a steady paycheck. S for self-employed specialist, like doctors or lawyers, still trading time for money. B for big business owners, the visionaries who build systems and hire teams. I for insider investors, the ones who raise capital, build companies, and sell assets. Most people are stuck in the E and S categories. And here's the problem. That side of the quadrant is where you get crushed in today's environment. Employees pay up to 40% in taxes, specialists up to 60%. They're exposed to inflation eating away their paychecks, stock market volatility wiping out retirement accounts, and a dollar that buys less every single month. Meanwhile, the B's and I's are moving differently. They use debt as leverage. They create assets. They understand that in a world where the dollar is collapsing, gold and silver aren't just hedges. They're tools of sovereignty. Kiyosaki himself has repeatedly said he's buying gold, silver, and Bitcoin because he doesn't trust the US government to protect savers. Look at what's happening right now. Central banks around the world are dumping US treasuries and stockpiling gold at the fastest pace since the 1960s. Silver just broke through multi-year highs, and analysts are calling it the sleeper asset of this decade, with explosive upside because it's both monetary and industrial. The US debt has crossed $37 trillion, forcing the Treasury to borrow nearly $500 billion every month. That isn't sustainable, and the rest of the world knows it. Kiyosaki's lesson becomes crystal clear here. If you stay trapped in the E and S quadrants, you're exposed to collapse. If you transition to the B and I side, you gain the ability to protect and multiply wealth in any environment. That's why he spent years learning real estate, sales, and capital raising. He knew job security was an illusion, and today's crisis proves him right. His own journey reflects what's happening globally. When he invested in gold and silver mines, raised money, and listed companies on the stock exchange, he wasn't buying stocks. He was creating them. That mindset shift is the difference between being crushed by inflation and thriving in it. And now, with currencies failing and commodities rising, those who adopt the capitalist mindset stand to gain the most. The real point is this: the dollar is collapsing not because of some random accident, but because decades of debt, wars, and money printing finally broke the system. Gold and silver are rising not by chance, but because the world is moving back to real money. Kiyosaki's teachings are no longer theory. They're playing out in real time.
Biggest problem with these, employees pay 40% of their income in taxes. With job security, it costs you 40% of your income. S's, doctors, and lawyers pay 60% in taxes worldwide, and B's pay about 20%. But the I can get down to 0% because the world needs people. They need capitalists to invest in businesses and grow companies and all this. So the skill sets of E, S, B, and I are very, very different. And it takes time to change the mind. So I ask you, what were your parents? E's, S's, B's, or I? My parents were E's. My mother was a nurse, she's still an E. And my rich dad was a B or an I. The other thing I ask people today, young people, say, who are your best friends today? Are the E's, S's, B's, or I's? As you guys know, who do my videos, my friends are B's and I's. Kenny McElroy, George Gammon, and all that. It's not just saying I'm going to be an E, S, B, and I. There is a metamorphosis, a transformation that goes on inside of you. So one of the reasons I'm not afraid of not having a job is I can raise money. If I need money, I have no problem going to raise money. So one of the goals of the B&I is, can you take a company public on a stock exchange? So my first deal I did was, I think, 2004. I took a gold mine in China public on the Toronto Stock Exchange, and we struck gold. And I don't buy shares. I don't buy stocks. I sell stocks. The mindset is completely different. But the thing I learned, doing a deal in China, can't trust the Chinese. I hate to say that. But as soon as we struck gold in China, it's one of the biggest finds was in Dalian, China. The Chinese took it. So I learned the definition of the word country risk. I don't do business in China. I go where the laws are strict and strong. That's like England, great laws. America has great laws. But that's how you learn by, trial and error. So then I took another company public. It was a silver company in Argentina. That one did well, and we sold it to another company. So I don't buy shares. Capitalists create shares and sell it. And the best deal I did was a gold mine in Utah, and it was just a great deal. It's an old gold mine, 140 years old, and my partners are Canadians. And they said, hey, we found a deal. We've got to raise money for it, though. And what they did is they found the mining records from 140 years ago. So they used AI to analyze the records of these gold miners from 140 years ago. And they did all the analysis. And they said, oh my God, 140 years ago, those miners missed the vein. It was such a rich area, but they missed the biggest vein. So what do? We raised money. And it's my first company I ever took public on the New York Stock Exchange. Again, I'm not a buying shareholder, I'm a selling shareholder. What I'm saying is your goals change. When I helped list that company on the New York Stock Exchange, it was like, that's how you know you're a B&I or a capitalist. So that gold mine, because it was 140 years old, but we used modern technology to analyze it, made us extremely rich people. But we got even richer when we took it public on the New York Stock Exchange. So ESBRI, they're mindsets. And what takes the time is the education to change your mindset. It's a metamorphosis or a transformation. It's like a caterpillar turns into a butterfly. That's the difference going from here to here. If you want to find out more about it, that's why I say this book here, the Cashflow Quadrant, is the most transformational book they can go through, because it causes them to question, what are my belief systems? Am I looking for job security? The employee always says the same words. I say secure job with a steady paycheck and benefits. That's my dad. My mom says, if you want it done right, S's, do it by yourself. So most doctors and lawyers and all that, they can do their job on their own. They're not team players. And B's and I's, you have to put together a team. And so your being is different. B's are different than I. I had this one silly woman come up to me, I'm an I. I said, good. How many companies have you taken public? I haven't. I said, so why do you say an I? Because I say I am. And that's how stupid people are today. Show me the proof, show me the money, show me your company. And then the B's, 500 employees or more. So your skills are different, your mindset's different, the education's different. And there's still E's or S's. They never make it here, because this takes time, takes education, training, and a metamorphosis. It's like a caterpillar turning into a butterfly. So when I started listing companies on the stock exchanges, I was a free man. I could make as much money as I want, and I was in control of it. That's what I wanted. The question is, what do you want? You want to be an E, S, B, I. There are different people, different education, different training.
So, what's the final takeaway? Robert Kiyosaki has been right all along. Schools don't teach money because the system needs obedient workers, not free capitalists. The dollar is losing trust, gold and silver are reclaiming their role as real money, and the people who thrive will be those who escape the trap of job security and learn to create, invest, and protect wealth on their own terms. Here's my question for you, and I want you to answer in the comments. Do you believe the dollar can recover, or is this the beginning of the end? Will gold and silver become the new anchors of trust in the financial system? And most importantly, are you preparing to shift from an employee mindset to a capitalist mindset, or are you waiting for the system to save you? Your answers matter, because this isn't just a financial story. It's a generational turning point. If you got value from this video, hit like, share it with a friend who needs to wake up, and subscribe for more insights into the collapse of the dollar and the rise of real money. The truth is simple. You can either ride the collapse down with everyone else or rise with the people who saw it coming. Which side are you on?